Hi, so today I'm going to talk about signs that you might be in an abusive relationship. And this might go hand in hand with, actually, it definitely goes hand in hand with domestic violence, sexual abuse, something that I call threatening abuse. If somebody threatens to kill or harm you or your loved ones in any way, that's not even signs of abuse. That's obvious physical abusive behavior. And I'm going to touch on emotional and mental abuse, which will go hand in hand with the abuses that I mentioned before, or they might just be standalone by themselves in a relationship that you're currently in or relationship that you've been in the past. So, right now, I'm going to pretty much bring up 6 categories of red flags you want to look out for in a certain relationship. One thing that I do want to bring up is to trust your gut. If you're in a relationship and you're always upset, you always feel like something's wrong, but you can't seem to pinpoint it, something is wrong. Relationships should not feel that way. Relationships should be enjoyable, something that adds value to your life, where you should already be happy being single, but a relationship is the icing to the cake. And if you're always feeling terrible, if you're always upset, that is not icing to a cake. That is something that you need to remove from your life. That could be the signs that you're in an abusive relationship. The first thing I want to bring up is isolation. And there's certain questions that you might want to ask yourself. You may not even realize that you're isolated. And of course, when you go from being single to being in a relationship, most likely you are going to see your family and friends less. But is it a lot less? Is there concern coming from your friends and family? That's a red flag right there. If your friends and family are concerned about the relationship that you're in, I would listen to that. It's not always true, but most likely it is true. Do you always feel guilty about hanging out with your friends and family? You shouldn't feel guilty about that. Does your significant other discourage you from hanging out with your friends and family? That's a red flag because your significant other should want you to be happy. It doesn't mean that your significant other is okay with you never hanging out with them because you're always dissing them for your friends and family. But at the same time, they should want you to be happy. And what makes you happy is being around your friends and family. So if it seems like your significant other does not want you to be happy, that's a big red flag. Do you this goes hand in hand with hanging out with your friends and family or maybe other things in your life. Do you always feel like you're brought under condemnation or that you're guilty of something even though you feel like you didn't do anything wrong? Do you feel like you can never do anything right? Those are feelings to pay attention to. If your sense of reality has changed, that's another red flag. Do you doubt yourself and the judgments that you make on decisions that you make in life after hanging out with your significant other? Have you changed a lot? Do you think that you're always wrong or experience self-doubt? Do you think that others are out to get you? Do you do you feel like things in your life have changed and that maybe you've been wrong about life this whole time and now all of a sudden this new person is in your life and has created a better sense of reality for you? That's a red flag. Nobody's going to create a better sense of reality for you. No, that would mean that that person is better than you. And no person is better than another person. Only God is the supreme being. But every person has the has the right, the dignity to create their own sense of reality, and no one else has the right to infringe upon that. Does your significant other kind of give you the feeling, and you may not be able to pinpoint this, but really think about it. Does it seem like it's you and them against the world? Has your significant other made you to think that they're some sort of hero in your life out to rescue you from the big bad world? Do they gossip about other people, always have something to say about other people that's negative, to try to give you a negative view of that person or other people? If they do that, that is affecting you subconsciously. You may not even realize it, but it's making you think of things differently, and you might develop that mentality. It's almost like mob mentality, where you think it is you and him against the world. And it could be intentional on his part. And when I say him, I am specifically referring to abuse in intimate partner relationships where between a man and a woman, where the woman is the victim. Do you feel like the world is out to get you and he's there to protect you? If you feel that way, then most likely he's played a part into you feeling like that, and that is abuse. That is not something that you should tolerate, because that is extreme possessiveness and control. Do a self-esteem check. That's the third thing on the list here. Going back to, have you changed a lot? Have you changed who you are? Have you changed your hobbies, the things that you like? Do you criticize yourself a lot? Do you look in the mirror now, and maybe before you didn't have a problem with your appearance, but you do now? Do you have a problem with your personality? Do you wish you were more like this or more like that? Perhaps your significant other compares you with other women, and this subconsciously has affected you into thinking maybe you don't measure up. Do you feel that way? Has your self-esteem plummeted since you've been with this significant other? That's abuse. Your significant other should not tear you down. They should build you up. They shouldn't even be with you in the first place unless they like you for who you already are. I know that sounds harsh, but you have to think about the reality. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. If you're with your significant other and it doesn't even seem like they like you, but they're still staying with you, you have to wonder why that is. If somebody doesn't like you, but they still remain in your life, most likely they have an ulterior motive and they're there to use you. A person that is secure with who they are is not going to be in a relationship with someone they don't like. That's something they won't tolerate. And that's something you shouldn't tolerate either. You should ask your significant other. You might be head over heels over him, but you sense he doesn't really like you. You're not feeling the chemistry returned on his part. That's something you need to bring up with him. That's something you need to address, because he might have an ulterior motive for being with you. And you deserve to be with somebody who loves you for who you are, for who God created you to be, everything about yourself, your personality, your looks, the things you like to do. They like you for who you are. You don't have to change. You don't have to feel guilty. You don't have to feel like you're coming under condemnation. And you feel the chemistry reciprocated from them. You don't deserve to be treated like that. You don't deserve to be with somebody who doesn't like you. You deserve to be with somebody who does like you. And believe me, they're out there. The fourth thing on the list is jealousy. Jealousy, although God condemns jealousy. God has a good type of jealousy. God is a jealous God. He's jealous over you for your best interest. If a guy is jealous over you, say, other guys are talking to you, or flirting with you. I wouldn't say talking to you necessarily, but if he senses that another guy likes you and that that guy is trying to flirt with you or pick you up, I mean, yeah, he should be jealous about that. But is he irrationally jealous? I'll give you an example of what happened with me. In my relationship that I was in that was abusive, so I was in the military and I was away from home, and my mom had come to visit me for Thanksgiving, and my boyfriend knew that, and me and my mom kind of went traveling for the day. We kind of did a day trip. We were gone all day, and he also knew that. So I came back. I don't know what time it was. I really don't. I think it was after dark. I just remember him coming to me and being really upset and saying, "Where were you all day?" And I said, "I was with my mom. I already told you that." And then he said, "Well, how do I know you weren't out with some guy?" That right there is irrational jealousy. Other forms of irrational jealousy that he would do were when we were at work, and I worked in a predominantly male field in mechanics, and he would sense that other guys were looking at me, and that's going to happen, you know. But he acted like I should have known about it and I should have done something about it. And it's like, you can't control people from looking at you. If you're with somebody that's holding you responsible for someone else's behavior, that's abuse. That's not something you should tolerate. Do you always feel guilty? Have you started acting in ways to where, I mean, that's another form of isolation. That's another form of your boyfriend trying to make himself out to be the hero in your life to protect you from the big bad world. And you don't need somebody to protect you from the big bad world. The boyfriend should be secure enough in himself that he doesn't need to do that. And you should be secure enough in yourself that you don't need somebody to do that for you. False accusations is another thing I want to get into. Are you falsely accused of things, or even worse? Does he make up things out of thin air to accuse you of? My ex-boyfriend would do that to me all the time. Clearly, the incident with my mom coming down for Thanksgiving was one example. He would twist things around when I would say, "No, I didn't do that." He would twist my words around and say, "Oh, but you did this before, so maybe it means you did." Does this person do that to you? That also goes back into creating a false sense of reality, and it creates a very dysfunctional dynamic, because this person knows if they are intentionally trying to abuse you, because it might be a pattern with them and different women that they get involved in, that they have this tactic down. They know people and they know responses. They know what their behavior is going to do to somebody else psychologically, and how that can affect their behavior in a way to where it helps the abuser continue to use and abuse you. And they know this tactic and they have it down. Some people are very smart and know how to do it perfectly without you even picking up on it. So just always ask yourself, always do a gut check about how you feel about being in this relationship. A relationship should not make you feel miserable. If you're miserable in the relationship, get out. Going back to what I said about being with somebody that you feel doesn't like you, or you know doesn't like you, they'll continue. Okay, so you've already established that this person is in a relationship with you and they don't even like you, but they're staying and they're coming back, and they will test the limits. They will do something wrong and then come back like nothing happened. They won't take responsibility for what they did. They'll act like it wasn't wrong, or they'll act like maybe there's a reason why they did that or why you deserve that. And you don't deserve that, ever, in any situation, no matter what. You don't ever, ever deserve that. Two main characteristics of abusers that I've identified just with my experience are people who are narcissists, which means they're extremely self-centered. That goes right into what I just discussed about somebody who doesn't admit that they're wrong. They'll come back just to see what you'll put up with. A guy that is a functional person to be with, that's going to have your best interests at heart, that actually likes you, is not going to be okay with you putting up with him treating you bad. He's going to wonder about that, and he's going to probably think that you have low self-esteem and either try to help you or not want to be with you anymore. But a guy that wants to continue to be with you after that is a huge red flag. The other type of abuser is somebody who's insecure. I mean, extremely insecure. We all have insecurities, but some people are insecure to the extreme to where they feel like they are completely worthless unless they have power over somebody. Everybody has had power over them, maybe their whole lives or maybe in a certain situation, and now they need to have power over somebody else. It's a form of rage. When somebody gets treated badly, they're going to be angry about it, no matter what. They might act like they're not angry about it. You might see no emotion on them at all, but inwardly they internalize it. They're going to be angry and they need an outlet for that. A functional person is going to confront the person that's treating them bad and stop the behavior. A dysfunctional person is going to internalize that behavior and probably go and mistreat somebody else. And that somebody else could be you. So these are two types of personalities to look out for. I'm not saying that these people are without hope. Nobody's without hope while they're still with us. God can change anybody. He can turn a narcissist and an insecure person into a really functioning, healthy human being who would be your dream significant other. So there's always hope. And I pray that if you have identified one of these, even just one, that you're experiencing in your relationship or a past relationship, that you take a good look at that and most likely get out of the relationship and start to do some soul searching as to why you think you might have gotten into that relationship and how you can build yourself up to be strong enough to resist that type of relationship in the future. That'll be another video, basically on becoming the best person that you can be so that you can get into healthy, functioning relationships and not into abusive relationships anymore. Thank you for watching. I pray you have a blessed day, and we'll see you soon.